Uh, right wing, independent. Is he out of a blasted mind? Freaking nut job, Trump is. Oh, hi, fellow zombies. Are we alive yet? Are we awake yet? I'm not. I'm a filament of imagination right now. Don't mind me. It's 1:43 in the morning, West Coast time. It is December the 23rd, 2024 for a Monday. Your zombie, we Regency of Roseman, California. Merry Treckmas. Close to it, isn't it? Okay. Had had to burp my butt the past couple of days when I started hearing about this one. And I really can't understand why the president-elect is doing this crap in the first place, and how come he wasn't talked down by the so-called president-elect Misk and Vivek about trying to reacquire the Panama Canal. Okay, scratch your heads on this one, guys. Why would we want the Panama Canal back when we gave it to them back in the early of this portion of the century? We had it for decades. We had a controlled area for a time. We made a lot of people rich. Um, we had engineers and self-surviving, self-sustaining communities out there, but the outlying communities wasn't exactly all that doing so well. But the money was still trying to be poured into the canal, trying to maintain it, right? From the history I was reading back in college several years ago, no, it wasn't. Not all of it, not enough of it. So there was negotiations going on back in the earlier, later portion of last century to the earlier portion of this century, and control was handed back, I think, back in 2002 to the Panamanians, where they can control their destiny, and for over 20 some odd years they have. Don't mind me if I'm getting rained over by bug war. I still got these little bastards around here anyway. So because there's prices being so exorbitant for the tonnage being transported over there, he wants to take control of the damn thing. I don't think Trump ever figured out the logistics of how the Panamanian Panama Canal actually works. I swear he doesn't understand it. There are levels on this damn thing, but they're also dependent upon the lakes that are controlling the water. If there's enough fresh water going on there, I need to get. Here we go. I got some cutouts. I wish I could show the cutouts to you. So I'm going to advise you folks to put your fingers through the keyboards and put out the Panama Canal in the search engine, and then go look in the images file, and you'll see how this is important. There is a website. When I'm going to be doing the video follow up, I'll get this information out to you because I think it's important. It's from the marineinsight.com. It's called 10 Important Panama Canal Facts Everyone Should Know. But they're showing how this is done. And if anybody had done any research concerning about the Panama Canal, I mean, they wanted a way on how to get ships across the isthmus. This one I'm also going to help you navigate right now. All right, folks, open up your web browsers to the maps of the Google. Yeah. Okay. Now it's going to be locking into your home turf anywhere. So guess what we get to go for? We type out the Panama Canal. If the computer is going to be cooperative with me this morning. And of course, there's going to be the Panama Canal / Panama. Now we see here the isthmus. If we happen to widen the shot, we see it connects the Caribbean waters with the Gulf of, actually with the Pacific waters. Very thin, isn't it? A few hundred miles, about that. But very important too, because it's important for shipping. If there is a way of getting past the Caribbean waters into the Pacific waters without making the longest trek that they hate making in the first place. I'm widening this shot to look at the globe. And I'm going to move South America front and center. And I'm going to move it up more to the north so I can get a portion of that and Antarctica on the screen. Okay. Now, in that turbulent area, very turbulent, is a passageway that no sailor likes going through. I don't care if they got modern technology, strongest superstructure. Those waters are treacherous. Even the ones who are going to the Antarctic for fun are having a field day going through that area because the weather conditions over there are extreme. So is the water. I'd seen videos on YouTube about this one. And while there might have been adventure in me, I'm not quite sure if I'd be able to deal with the entire adventure in the restroom. Imagine that. It's not number one. It's not number two. Well, I hate to say what number three is. My stomach wouldn't be able to keep anything down from that kind of treacherous water. But in the old days, when they were crisscrossing the land of adventure, or time of adventure and time of danger, you had ships trying to go around the passageway between Antarctica and South America. And if they actually made it, then they had the waters of the Pacific to go to and places to establish whatever they're going to establish. With our modern technology, with our own ships that we have, cruise ships to tankers, imagine their kind of issues if the canal shuts down for any reason, that they would have to risk their cargo and their money and their lives to make their ports between the Atlantic waters and the Pacific waters just because of that area. Let's head back to the isthmus, shall we? Okay, there we are. Now back at that isthmus there. You have to understand something about the canal itself. It took them many years and a lot of engineering skills to figure out how to get across. Now, all those who've been through the Panama Canal, and I haven't, understand that there are many locks. There are like about five or six. So basically, you've got ships raising and lowering. First, you go into one side, and then you've got to go through one lock, then another lock, then another lock. You get to the top, then another lock, then another lock, and boom, right? Where are they getting the water from? Where are they getting the water from? Water comes from the lakes that they're using on a step by step basis here. And they have to go through the locks on this one. They're draining lakes to get the cargo moving. And they depend upon the climate, they depend upon weather, they depend upon a lot of rainfall to constantly refill the lakes. Because if they don't have the sufficient waterfall on that one, it's a logistical nightmare. But it was worked upon. We didn't know back in the early 1900s what kind of a logistical nightmare it was going to be if there was going to be very little water. All they knew is they had plenty of water for the lakes. That's fine. But I've also seen other reports concerning about sometimes the water gets down to a level that they're questioning the validity of the damn thing and whether or not they continue the operations or not. As long as the climate is not screwing them over and still giving sufficient enough water, enough rainfall, the operation will continue. But because we got the climate change happening and we have ocean water rising faster, temperatures are getting a little more heated. The water temperatures are getting a little bit more heated. There is going to be more damage. Now, as much as I understand something about meteorology, just a little bit of it, a lot of heated energy in the Caribbean waters or even in the mid Atlantic will give enough power to a storm to make it into a hurricane nightmare. Now, granted, if we actually had that kind of water fill going on the Panama area, they'll be filling them up left and right. They wouldn't have any problems with it, but it'd also be wiping out communities left and right because of the winds and flooding issues happening. I try to keep up. I try to pay attention. Well, there's a dynamic force. I have to keep track with the national. I have to keep track with the local, mostly local here, just to see whether or not if the weather out here in Southern California is going to be nice and pleasant. But we're dealing with atmospheric conditions over here that can change in an instant, especially in the mid latitudes, closer to the equator. A lot of turbulent areas, and not to mention the lower latitudes as well. I ain't a guru. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't have a doctorate in a damn thing right now. I'm still working on just English literature. That's about it. But I had watched and perused a lot of stuff. Doesn't make me an absolute guru at anything, but it makes me concerned. And the Panama Canal is a very famous one, but haven't we heard concerning about Mexico trying to get their own canal going? Didn't we ever hear anything about that little situation over there? Gee, boys and girls, shall we do a Google search to get this information here? I mean, I think it would be relevant, don't you think? I think it would be. Now, they got a canal project plan going on. They want to cut into Panama Canal. They want to get the business. But I just did a search on this one on Yahoo. It's interoceanic, oceanic. Try that one again. Interoceanic corridor of the Isthmus of the. Okay, I can pronounce it. I probably could. Tehuantepec. According to the little newspaper, say it's an alternative to the Panama Canal. Corridor aims to facilitate the transit of cargo containers and goods between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, similar to the canal. So I'm going onto a website right now. If my computer will be less goofy on me right now. Here we go. ncesc.com geography. Last updated in June of 20th. It's still got some relevant information. I still want to get some information on the PDF here because I was coming across articles on this one on YouTube regarding Mexico wants to get into the transportation situation. They're going to try to cut across their own continent to beat out Panama. Panama's been raking it in for so long. Why not Mexico? They think they now got the engineering skills to do so. I don't know. I'm not an engineer, so I haven't quite studied what they've got going. But apparently, there's a frequently asked questions link on this one. So once I start doing my own video follow up, I'll find this one, slap it on there, and maybe people can understand what's going on. Now you're asking me again, why is this so important? It's not just politics. It's business, it's transportation, and it's also commercial. But it is going to be politics because it's going to be affecting other countries, particularly Panama and Mexico. They're going to hit their loggerheads at this point. I don't know what they charge per rates for the tones. That's one thing I got to take a look at here because I want to know. I want to know what they're charging for the rates. And it's important for me to know about this one because if I'm going to be talking about this thing, I need to know what the current rates are. Okay. So current rates. Okay. Ocean shipping rates. Let me see. Oh, I got to log into this one. There's nothing free in this one. Well, that's a bummer. I don't get the money for this thing in the first place. Ooh. No, I gotta redress this. Current shipping costs. Okay. Alrighty. That's still for one particular website. ShipStation, online sellers. Oh, they're really gonna make it into that one, aren't they? I'm trying to understand what they're charging per tonnage in this. How much tons are going to be charging each time a ship goes through? From commercial transports to um, cruising industry. And we do got cruise ships that go in and out of that one. When they have relocation from one home port to another home port, when they're starting up their seasons, those ships have to be narrow enough to fit through the docks. I've seen how large that they're showing for those mega ships out there. And some of them are actually able to do the Mediterranean run if they could, go across the seas if they have to. They'll still do the Caribbean. There are ports in the Bahamas that they're trying to expand upon docks to accommodate large ships. What happens if some of these ships have to relocate to other ports in the Pacific? They have to go through a dock, or they're going to have to make that round trip through the icy, turbulent waters between Antarctica and South America to get over there. We have redeployments all the time. Some ships companies will redistribute the ships from one port to another port to another port. Usually living in markets for a long time and then take them out and put them in other markets. They're constantly switching. But seeing these things in action, it takes nearly a day for a ship to get through a port. I mean, you get there early enough in the morning, maybe get out of there about late afternoon because it takes time for the water to rise up to a level or lower to a level, especially if you got ships moving up and down all the time. As I said before, I don't know what tonnage we're dealing with here, or what the rates are going to be like, or even with the geography that we're dealing with Mexico. And I don't know where that is being handled through, which is, I'm coming into this thing so haphazard. I'm going to scratch out the word Panama, and I'm going to put into Mexico. Yeah, if they got pictures of this, if they've got a diagram I can look at. Okay. So sandwiched between Mexico and Guatemala, are in that area. But think of it this one. Panama is about 80 kilometers. The Mexico Dry Canal, they want to make this thing into a wet. It's 215 kilometers. That's a lot of mileage. That's a lot of mileage that they're going to be doing. It'll take them decades to get this going. And whether or not they've actually got the money for it in the first place. It's not the money. It's not the economy of the thing. It's how they're going to be able to split their country like this in half. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting engineering feat for them to get this going. 215 miles across their area. Wowzers. That's just incredible. And they're doing this just to get their own economy going. I mean, they've been having it for a long while. I'm looking at the point on the Google Maps where it says Veracruz on the north side, right in a certain Gulf range that they actually have, the bay. Um, I wish I had taken Spanish in high school. That would have been easier for me in the tongue. Okay, what are we looking at? Coatzacoalcos. Wait a second. Coatzacoalcos. Okay, that's an interesting name. I'm going to have to try that out a few more times on that. Okay, but in that particular area that's facing the Caribbean Ocean, the Mexican idea, the Mexican government's idea is to tunnel in that area, or actually create a canal through that area, going south till they get to the Pacific. This may take them decades on this one. It's going to be an engineering nightmare for some. But they thought about the same situation when it came down for the Panama Canal because of the elevation that they had to get through. The narrowest isthmus that they actually charted out, and they were having issues concerning about the lock situation. But they managed to figure it out. But it took them decades and a lot of work and probably a lot of death out there too. So that was 20th century technology. And now we got 21st technology. But it's still going through a lot of communities, redesigning it, and hopefully they won't have that much massive locks to go through. I don't know why this one actually had me being curious about this one, Because we are talking about an engineering feat happening in my own lifetime. Maybe. Bad enough we're showed enough in space spam in a can mostly. And I don't know where we're going to continue due to man on the moon or let alone Mars. But hell, well, maybe within my lifetime, maybe within 5 or 10 years, they'll be able to figure out how to tunnel through. Maybe not 5 or 10 years. It's going to be about 50 years. A lot of haggling and a lot of pesos on this one. But Trump wants his canal back. He wants the Panama Canal back. I just wasted a lot of time just talking about uh, the logistics at this point, locations. I mean, the county of Veracruz, he wants to go through and then ship us. Oh yeah. Okay. And just because he wants more money, he thinks that they're charging a lot of people more money. Going to be charging the United States more money. I think he's got the manifest destiny on his brain at this point, not even realizing it, that he wants to create an empire of the America. And therefore, the United States has to tell everybody else what's going on because he's got billionaires telling him what's going on. And if they're so interested about the Panama Project, why haven't they been able to do something about it? I mean, actually go out there and make an assessment of it. Is it going to be fiscally responsible? They need to do a cost analysis on it. Much we've got going through the canal or the Panamanians, if they can release that information publicly. What kind of tonnage, gross tonnage they're getting all the time, and is it worth it? Should have just left it alone. I think he just wants to make himself. Trump wants to make himself a pain in the ass, and so does the others. Other than that, we'll try to do another one tomorrow night or in the morning. Another live shot. It is well past my bedtime. My dog is going to be coming up pretty shortly, wondering how come I'm not back to bed. And so is the rest of my body and my brain. So enough for me blathering my head off here. You guys try to enjoy the rest of the holiday. It's getting close to the 25th of December. Happy holidays, yous. Or happy Trickmas.